Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Hazel Craven and I'm a course advisor here at the University of Manchester. And today we're going to be holding a session talking about enhancing your fashion marketing employability with some of our special guests from the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So during today's session, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a brief introduction to ourselves and explain a little bit more about how we work. And then we will have a presentation from Maureen, who will be talking more about welcome to a CIM accredited degree. Before we enter into a panel discussion about the Chartered Institute of Marketing, how that's helped gain careers and how that applies to your course. We'll then give you a brief course overview about our International Fashion Marketing online and blended learning course before we open for audience question and answers. The question and answer function is available through Zoom and you'll be able to submit those using that. And we do also have the chat function open today as well. So please do get involved and ask any questions that you have. So I'm now going to just quickly introduce myself before I introduce you to the rest of our panel. So as I said, my name is Hazel Craven and I'm your dedicated course advisor for the online and blended learning International Fashion Marketing course. I'm based here in Manchester and my role is to support and guide you through the application and decision-making process, right through from when you're first considering your course until you start studying with us. I can answer any questions that you have about the programme via email, and you can see my email address here at the bottom of the slide. And I'm also available for Zoom and telephone consultations to give you more personalised advice and assistance. And I will bring these contact details up at the end of today's session as well. For anyone joining us in China today, you may already be aware that we do have a China Centre based in Shanghai, and I'll also bring up my colleague Thompson's contact details if you have any questions for him as well. So I'm now going to hand over to Barbara to introduce herself.
Hello, my name's Barbara Waters. I'm the course director for the Masters in International Fashion Marketing, and I'm a lecturer in fashion business. So I've been working in higher education for the last 30 years, teaching fashion marketing. I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing and a chartered marketer. I'm a fellow of the Textile Institute and fellow of the Higher Education Academy. So I teach mostly things like fashion branding, fashion marketing communications, consumer behaviour and so forth. And that's me, really.
Okay, and Sally, are you able to introduce yourself, please?
Hello everyone, my name's Sali Midjek-Conway and I'm Vice Chair on the Chartered Institute of Marketing Northwest Board. I'm also a committee member on the Chartered Institute of Public Relations Northwest Committee as well. And I'm a big champion for diversity. As a woman, a professional woman of Algerian heritage, it's really important, I think, to see much more diversity in our industry sectors. I run my own consultancy, SMC Marketing and Communications, and I support mainly small to medium-sized businesses with their marketing and their communications requirements. So it can be project-based right through to consultancy on a more monthly basis. My background is predominantly in what's known as customer acquisition. So that's working in education through student recruitment, right through to customers in maybe in a loyalty setting, like a membership organisation, and also in football and finance. And my last role was actually at the University of Manchester, working in the faculty team in one of the faculties there, where I headed up the marketing and student recruitment and communications department, looking after a whole suite of things, including international student recruitment. Thank you.
And Maureen, over to you.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Hazel. Good morning, everybody. My name is Maureen Wincott. I work for the Chartered Institute of Marketing as an Education Partnerships Manager. In particular, I look after all our university partners, not just in the UK, but internationally as well. I too have had a career in marketing. I obviously started by doing a master's in marketing myself. I'm now a fellow chartered marketer. and very happy to share if you've got any questions about my career later on, very happy to share that with you. Very passionate about marketing and looking forward to telling you a little bit more in a bit about actually our relationship with the University of Manchester and the course that you are interested in and how we work together to actually give you a little bit of value added. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Maureen, for introducing yourself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on, and I'm going to let Maureen give her presentation and talk a bit more about Welcome to a Chartered Institute of Marketing accredited degree.
Good. Thank you very much, Hazel. So both myself and Sally will be able to answer some questions later on, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this special partnership that we've got with the University of Manchester, which helps actually differentiate this particular course and actually go through with you today what that actually gives you. So if we can have the next slide, please, Hazel. Fantastic. So give you a little bit of background information about the Chartered Institute of Marketing. The first thing to tell you is we've been around for a long time, so we're very well established. In fact, we've been around for over 100 years. And our purpose during that time has always been the same. It's about supporting marketers at whatever point of their career they're at, whether it's like you guys, just about to start your marketing journey, or people perhaps like myself, who, let's just say, is moving towards the latter stage of their marketing career. And throughout, you know, obviously the CIM is there to support through events, mentoring schemes. We've got an amazing knowledge hub that gives you access to additional information, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on. I also wanted to tell you the fact that we are very much a global organisation today, and in fact we've got members in over 127 countries. Both our qualifications and our membership is recognised by employers throughout the world, and we are also the only international organisation that can offer the chartered marketer status, which again is something that helps differentiate you. Marketing is an amazing discipline. I think it's amazing. I'm very passionate about it, but it is very competitive and it is very fast paced. When I did my master's in marketing over 25 years ago now, digital didn't exist. It wasn't a thing. And in fact, mobile phones were still these very clunky brick-like things that you couldn't take out of your car. So how does an employer know that I'm current and relevant today? Well, they know that because I'm chartered, and that tells an employer that actually I've kept my skills up to date. And so again, I'll tell you a little bit more about actually, you know, through joining this course, how potentially you could start your journey to become chartered. So if we can have the next slide, please, Hazel. Thank you. Now, as I've mentioned, the international fashion marketing degree that you are looking to potentially come on to is accredited by the CIM. And what that means is that we have recognised the quality and quantity of marketing that actually you do in that programme is such that we can award or we have awarded the accredited degree status. So first of all, you can be assured that actually, you know, the course that you're potentially going to come on to is a respected course, and that CIM have acknowledged that it's a very good standard. But it gives you more than that as well. Because it's of such a standard, we are able to offer exemptions against our professional qualifications. Now, you might be thinking, but if I'm doing a degree from a really prestigious institute, why do I potentially need to do something else as well? Well, our professional qualifications have been designed to actually complement your degree. It tells an employer not only have you got fantastic knowledge from your degree, but actually you've been able to demonstrate that you can apply that knowledge. And so I'm going to show you in a second a little bit more detail about actually if you complete the course, you get exemptions against both our certificate and our diploma course. So if I can have the next slide, please, Hazel. Okay, so this is the suite of qualifications that we have. As I say, these are recognised internationally. And it tells an employer that, as I say, you're work ready, okay, if you hold one of these qualifications. And the really great news is that actually there's a whole suite of qualifications, but I'm going to focus very specifically on the certificate and the diploma. The certificate qualification actually tells an employer that the student is work ready and can perform the sort of job of marketing officer or marketing executive. The red one is our diploma in marketing, and that is really designed around the marketing manager role. So it's a little bit more strategic in its nature. Both of these qualifications receive exemptions against, both these courses have exemptions, okay, because if you complete the International Fashion Marketing degree at the University of Manchester, you will receive 2 out of the 3 modules as exemptions against the certificate, and 1 of the modules on the diploma. So it will fast track you through to these professional qualifications. Now the next slide, please, Hazel. You are also able to take advantage of becoming a studying member. Okay. Oh, I should have said with the exemptions, by the way, you actually have up to 5 years from graduating in order to complete the qualification. And we have a variety of different organisations around the world that provide face-to-face or online tuition. So you should be able to complete those qualifications fairly easily in the format that you would like to do so. You might also want to consider taking advantage of becoming a studying member. You would need to do that in order to complete the qualifications anyway, but you might want to decide to become a studying member whilst you're still at the University of Manchester. There is a specially discounted rate of £65 per annum. It gives you access to a whole wealth of additional material. I know you've got, would have fantastic resources through the University of Manchester. But as the home of marketing, we too have a knowledge hub with articles, research papers, all sorts of additional information, templates, and so on that you would have access to that not only would help you with your degree, but also help you prepare you for the world of work. One of the things in particular that I've often used are the webinars. Because marketing is such a fast-paced discipline, and probably the best textbooks or the newest textbooks that you're likely to actually look at are probably at least 2 years old, even if they were only published yesterday, because that is how long it takes to publish a book. So they're probably not going to mention anything about COVID and about the logistics nightmare that that's actually caused. It's probably not going to mention the latest platforms, social media platforms such as TikTok, for example. It's not going to mention anything about, Brexit and so on. So actually keeping your skills really up to date is a very important part of becoming a professional marketer. And our webinars, we have a whole variety of different webinars ranging from very specific topics through to more general supportive type webinars. And that's an excellent habit to get into. And as a studying member, you would have access to the full range of webinars. So I'd really encourage you to come onto the course that actually you dip into those resources. We also have things like a quarterly magazine. Hopefully, when things calm down a little bit, we'll get back to having events, etc. But certainly the webinars are really something in particular to look at. The other really important thing, if you actually sign up as a studying member whilst you're on the course, it means when you graduate, you can actually upgrade for free to ACIM grade, okay? So that you will actually have initials after your name to demonstrate to an employer that actually you're a graded member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which immediately tells them that you are really engaged in, the marketing profession. From ACIM grade, it also gives you access to things like our mentoring scheme, which is particularly useful as you transition into the world of work. I remember having completed my master's, I joined a publishing company, and I remember to this day my boss coming in, shaking me by the hand, welcoming me to the organisation, saying to me, I hope I had a good time. Oh, and by the way, if you can get a marketing plan for this new range of books that we're bringing out by the end of the week, that'll be great. And I remember thinking, wow, this is real. This is a little bit scary. But what I was able to do, because I was a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, was actually sign up for a mentor. He wasn't going to do the work for me, but he was someone that I was able to bounce ideas off of, and he did exactly that. And he was fantastic. He, you know, asked me a few questions like, yeah, but have you thought about this, or have you thought about that? And so actually, by the end of the week, when I submitted my plans to my new boss, he was suitably impressed, and I stayed there for about 8 years. So that's a real gift in some ways, that the university has enabled you to become a studying member. You're then able to upgrade for free to ACIM grade and get, as I say, the mentoring scheme, you know, would be something that I think I in particular used and was a real benefit. The other thing it means, of course, is that you're able to start your journey from ACIM grade towards becoming chartered. And you only have to keep CPD for a further 2 years. Okay, CPD, continual professional development. You'll probably hear a lot about that on your course. And you're able to upgrade. As I say, you're then able to apply to become a chartered marketer. Another excellent way to actually differentiate you. So, as I say, studying membership obviously is something that, because the University of Manchester is one of our partner institutions, you are able to benefit from. Can we have the next slide, please, Hazel? Okay, so there are other things as well as a partner institution. You can join our marketing club, for example. Our marketing club gives you access to some free webinars, especially designed for marketing students. We've already had a couple this year on branding. We've had one on digital marketing trends, for example. So, as I say, you know, lots of things that you would have additionally, because the University of Manchester has this special relationship with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. You get the exemptions, you get the opportunity to become a studying member, and you can join our marketing club for free as well. And I'm really perhaps, you know, happy to answer some questions when we go into the panel section. Thank you very much, Hazel.
Thank you so much, Maureen. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to move on and to do a panel discussion, as you've mentioned, bringing back all of our panel and bringing you together just to discuss a little bit more about your careers in marketing to date, and about any involvement that you've had in the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So for everybody who is watching us at the moment, the question and answer function is available if you want to ask your questions, and you can also put those into the chat. So please do get involved if there's something that you want to find out more about based on something that our panels say today as well. So the first question, I know we've covered this a little bit in the introductions already, but I was just wondering if you'd be able to talk about your marketing careers and what made you choose to get involved in the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And Sally, I was wondering if we could come to you first with this one.
Yeah, I think that for me, I took a different route to studying and marketing itself, because I didn't go to university directly from finishing my A-levels. I started working, and I was very lucky at the time that I was given some employment opportunities, such as training and additional training. So I went to what was known as like night school, you know, going to part-time learning whilst I was working. And I did a sort of business studies type of course that was giving me the stepping stones into higher education. At the time, I just did it because I was very lucky, and I didn't actually appreciate it so much at the time. But what it did do was open my eyes up to the many possibilities of what business is about and that kind of thing. And as soon as I started on the marketing topic in my module set that I had, there was like a little light bulb that just sort of switched on, and that was it. So I was really, I found I was much more excited about learning that topic. It talked about a variety of different brands that I was familiar with. So I appreciate that when we are studying marketing, it can often be about things that you know, and then when you actually come to do it in real life, you're not necessarily dealing with the same budgets, you're not necessarily dealing with the same reputations. But it was a fascinating topic for me. So that was my little spark moment for getting involved with marketing. And one of the things that I found was that I was not quite at the position that I wanted to be in my career. at that point. And what this course did for me was allow me to leverage, so very much like what Maureen referred to, is enabling me to leverage to my employers and my future employers about my understanding, my knowledge and my capabilities in marketing, so that I could aim towards the job that I was looking for, which was to be a much more kind of core marketer than what I was at the time. So for me, the CIM definitely represented that stepping stone into the career path that I was looking for.
That's brilliant, thank you. And it's interesting you saying kind of approaching your studies through night school whilst you were working full time. So this course as well is a part-time and online blended learning course, so this means that the vast majority of our students as well are working full time whilst they're juggling their studies. So again, if people have any questions that they want to ask about that, then please do ask, and we can also signpost anyone to any resources that they have. And we've had some interviews recently with some of our current students who are in that position too. So Maureen, the same question to you. Would you be able to talk a little bit more about your career to date and your involvement with the CIM?
Yes, delighted to. Like Sally, I've had a long career that actually has changed. I think that's probably something that, you know, all of us now experience. Actually, you know, over your life, your career path will probably change quite dramatically. So as I mentioned, actually my undergraduate degree is not marketing, it's a sort of heritage degree, so not related at all. But I then ended up doing a master's in marketing, and at the same time I did my CIM qualifications as well. It was recommended to me by someone who said, you know, this will help to differentiate you even further. And I found the CIM qualifications really, really useful. And indeed, you know, when I got my first job working for a publisher, it was the thing that, you know, my boss asked me about, you know, in the interview. He sort of said, oh, you know, tell me about the Chartered Institute of Marketing qualifications. I've heard about them. I was able to tell them, him, you know, sort of what that meant, etc., and got the job. At that stage, I was an ACIM member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And as I say, it really helped in those early days, you know, sort of giving me the confidence, really, and having the mentoring scheme and being able to attend events with, you know, other people from other different sectors. And ironically, after about 8 years, it was the thing that got me into my next job, which was actually someone asked whether I would come along and do some guest lecturing. And the guest lecturing turned into a new career of academia. And I was a marketing lecturer for many, many years for both Bournemouth University, but also delivering CIM qualifications myself for a local college as well. And suddenly I realized that I was very passionate about marketing and actually really enjoyed spending time actually helping people start their career off. And again, you know, I could see, and I still do keep in contact with a lot of my ex-students that did CIM qualifications. And, you know, it's the thing that actually seems to differentiate them and help them progress in their career. And then about 7 years ago, again, I actually, through one of the CIM events, I was talking to someone saying that actually, you know, I wanted to take it to the next level, and they said, oh, we've got a job going at the Chartered Institute of Marketing that you might be interested in. It's very much about, you know, development of partnerships. It's in the field that you love, which is academia and marketing. So it sounded like the perfect job for me. And I very much enjoyed going and talking to students. And it's reinforced to me as well, you know, that marketing is, as I say, I think it's an amazing subject. It's fun, it's dynamic, it's fast-paced, but it is competitive. And employers are looking for people that are really engaged in the subject, not doing just what they have to do, to, you know, get through a degree. They want to see people that, you know, clearly love it, that are, you know, engaged and doing extracurricular stuff as well. So, you know, and as I say, all my experiences have really sort of enforced that. So I'm a little bit jealous speaking to you guys today, because I think, wow, you know, marketing, there are so many opportunities now, and in the future, it's just, you know, going to get more and more exciting. When I did my qualifications and my masters, you know, it was you did a master's in marketing. Now I think, wow, if I could do one in international fashion marketing, I'd be at the front of the queue. I think, you know, it just sounds amazing. So as I say, if you get nothing else out of today, you know, think about actually, you know, how do you differentiate yourself in your career? How do you show employers that you're really engaged? So that's me.
Brilliant, thanks Maureen. And Barbara, over to you as well.
Okay, well, my first degree was in textile fashion marketing, and it was an accredited degree by the CIM. So while I was studying that, I registered as a studying member, did my exams and got a CIM diploma at the end. And I would say it helped me to get my first job, certainly. As Maureen says, it's one of those things that people ask about in job interviews, and it helps to differentiate you from other people. And then a little bit like Sally, my company, the first company I worked for was a management services company. And our major client was the National Union of Students, so still kind of education. But we worked with clients like Levi's and Durex and people who wanted to get into the student market. So it's really exciting. But my company paid for me to do a part-time master's degree. So I've done a part-time master's as well. And it isn't easy, and there's lots of balancing of work and academia. But I understand that, and so do several of my colleagues who teach on the course who've also done part-time masters. So we do kind of understand where you're at and where you're coming from. And then once I got my master's degree, I started lecturing in fashion marketing, textile marketing, and I've been doing that for 30 years now. But I would say I've worked at the University of Bolton, the University of Manchester, the University of Leeds. I've always tried to get our courses wherever I've worked accredited by the CIM. And when I go for job interviews, people still ask me about the CIM and about being a chartered marketer. And it really helps you to stand out from everybody else, because it is quite unusual, and it's also a sign of professionalism. And as Maureen says, especially as you get older like me, when you go to interviews, people want to know that you're up to date. And by being a chartered marketer, you're constantly doing CPD and learning about things like digital marketing, which just didn't exist when I did my first degree. So it's about constantly updating and upskilling and being at the kind of cutting edge of your field.
That's great. Thank you so much, Barbara. So I think the next question I'm going to ask you all is, so you've mentioned about the CIM and some of the benefits that you've had, but if you had to pick one of the biggest benefits, what would you pick as your biggest benefit of being a member of the CIM and being involved in the CIM? And Barbara, if we come back to you on that one first.
Well, I would say networking, I think, because the CIM has local groups, I don't know what you call them, sections. And in the good old days before COVID, they had proper physical meetings, and you could go along to your local meeting and talk to some amazing people doing marketing jobs in all kinds of different businesses and industries, and learn about new things. And I always found that really useful for networking. Now we're all online. There are some fantastic webinars, as Maureen said, and especially the Marketing Club webinars for students, I think are fantastic. So I would say that kind of networking with professionals and learning from professionals in all sorts of different industries.
That's great, thank you. And Sally, can we come to you next on that one, please?
Yeah, I think that for me, there's also, for me, one of the main things that I used to push a lot when I was managing teams was always around the fact that, you know, whilst digital's here now, and it's obviously quite a massive proportion of what people do when they're trying to reach different audiences, it's not the only thing that exists. It's not the only channel. And so whilst, you know, similar to what we've just been talking about and feeling very old now, is that, you know, when we were studying, it was very much that digital didn't exist. And as I say, I can remember even when I was doing it, I think mobile phones had just about come on, but it wasn't really something that was seen in marketing in that same way. The internet was there, so that shows how we're not that old, but it's not far off. And so for me, it's very much about the broad principles of marketing that I have taken with me throughout every job I've had. And equally, it's also what I've now noticed is very much part of my thinking. So I'm my role now is a strategic marketing consultant, because I think big. And I also think about the whole picture rather than just that specific thing. So when it comes to businesses, I personally would have the opinion that marketing has a really strategic value across the business. It's not just, you know, advertising. It's not just brand and everything else you see. So for me, it's about providing that foundation knowledge that you then build or you specify depending on what you're interested in or what you have to learn for your job. The other aspect to it is around that resource hub. So even just like, you know, recently I'm looking to apply for my own chartered status, because prior to when I was working full time in an employed role, I never had the time to concentrate on my CPD in the same way. So now I feel really privileged that I've now been able to continue with my professional development. So I am now in a position to get towards chartered status. And so by brushing up and revising a little bit, because of course every day is a school day, you don't ever finish learning, and especially now with everything changing and the fluidity of marketing, that I found it really beneficial to be able to have access directly to lots of different types of resources like templates, but also around guides and just topical things that help me learn. So I'm probably what you might call a SWAT in that respect. I do love the idea of learning all the time. And I say I was a massive advocate for that when I was managing and leading teams, because I truly believe that, you know, in order to be the best at what you do, you need to keep going with that learning. It doesn't just stop once you get to master's level or beyond, etc. So for me, it's very much around the resources aspect as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Maureen, over to you with the same question, please.
Well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that the mentoring was something that really helped me. And it's not just for people that have just gone into the workplace. Indeed, actually, I've used the mentoring service since then, you know, when digital, you know, really started to impact my sort of daily life. You know, that was an area that I could upskill. I think it's having that security that you're part of a bigger family, that you're amongst a group of people that are there for each other. And I think that's perhaps being a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, what that brings. You know, you don't feel that you're alone. That actually there's the mentoring scheme, but also there are networking events, and there's lots of webinars and stuff, you know, to support you. So you really do feel, doesn't matter what discipline you're in or what country you're in the world, that there is this actual sort of support framework around you. And in more latter years, I've actually become a mentor myself, you know, and again, that's given me something back as well. So I think the mentoring scheme is really great. The other thing that I would put a shout out for as well is that very recently the CIM have introduced digital badges, which is great because it means that on your LinkedIn profile, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that, you know, I'm a chartered fellow now of the of CIM, and it's there for everyone to see. So actually, you know, when you become a graded member, you get that sort of thing that's going to go on your CV or on your LinkedIn profile or whatever you're using, that actually says here, you know, I'm slightly different. I'm doing something extra. So yeah, I think that's good as well. Thanks, Hazel.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you. So the next question I have really is more focusing and thinking about studying a course with the Chartered Institute of Marketing Accreditation, and what features of that course you consider to be benefiting directly from that accreditation. So Barbara, I'm going to start with you on this one, if that's okay. And if we think about specifically our international fashion marketing course, but Sally and Maureen, if there's anything that you have picked up in your experience, either working with people who've already got studied a course that's accredited, or your experience with the CIM and other courses that you think applies, please do jump in and get involved in the discussion as well.
Okay, well, with the International Fashion Marketing course, we actually designed in the CIM from the beginning. So we took the CIM's requirements for accreditation, and we looked at the CIM's existing units or modules, we call them units. And we tried to map our content right from the beginning onto what the CIM teach. And one of the reasons why we do that is because the CIM is a professional organisation, it's a professional body for marketers. And we want our students to be able to function really well as professionals. So by using the CIM's kind of approach, we know that our course meets those professional requirements and that it's up to date as well, because the CIM are constantly reviewing their specifications. So we kind of designed the CIM in from the beginning. And the reason we do that is because we want accreditation, because we think it offers our students some real benefits, not just in terms of having some extra letters, but in terms of having that kind of professional approach to marketing, to having the possibility of going on to become a chartered marketer and to join in those professional networks, and to have the support of things like the marketing club while they're studying. So all of those things, we kind of took that as to be the benefits of building in CIM accreditation.
That's great. And just thinking about the course specifically, is there any specific unit, perhaps the way that it's taught, any modules that you can think of that really heavily feature some of that, or is it more of just a general involvement for the course?
It's the course as a whole. So we look at international fashion marketing, and obviously we have all the principles of marketing in there. We have fashion marketing communications. We do a lot of digital in there. Contemporary issues is about sustainability, but also we bring some of the digital in there as well. So it goes throughout the whole course. There isn't any one module or unit. It's everything. It's the course as a whole.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the last question of our panel discussion before we just talk about the course in a little bit more detail. So there will still be time for questions at the end if there's anything that anybody does want to ask our panel. So please do submit something if you'd like to. But the question that I have here is, what tips or advice would you give to somebody who is looking to begin to enhance their career in marketing and in getting involved in that and in fashion marketing as well? And Maureen, would we be able to come to you first on that one?
Thank you. I would say to anyone, whether they're just about to start a course or thinking about their career in general, think about what you can do to differentiate yourself. So get involved, and I know there will be lots of opportunities through the University of Manchester to get involved with extracurricular stuff. It doesn't have to necessarily be, CIM or CIM related. If you get the opportunity of doing a competition, for example, or if you get the opportunity to join other societies, or if you get the opportunity to do a placement locally, or, volunteer maybe for a charity, anything that you can put down additionally on your CV, so that actually when you come to an interview, you've got something on there that's a little bit different. Now, obviously, CIM qualifications and membership helps do that, but there are other things as well, So, for example, when I was teaching at Bournemouth University, we had a team that entered it was at the time a CIM competition, and actually they were runners up, and I met one of the team members at a CIM event a couple of years after both she and I had left the university, and I said, "Oh, what are you doing now?" And she said, "Oh, I'm a global brand manager for L'Oreal." And I said, "That's amazing. How did you get that job?" And she said, "Well, funnily enough, it was actually the competition that we did." And she said it was something that I was able to put on my CV, and that when I had my interview, they picked up on it and they asked me about it. And she said it was something I was able to talk very confidently about and uniquely about. Other people obviously, you know, didn't all have that on their CV. And she said from that point, the interview went from strength to strength, and, you know, she subsequently got the job. So if there's a takeaway today, I would say think about how you're going to differentiate yourself and take up any opportunities that, you know, you'll get lots of opportunities through the university. So think about those.
Okay, great, thank you. And Sally, is there anything that you'd like to add, any tips or advice for people?
Yes, one of the things that I found really helpful was when I was starting out in my career, and obviously with people on this webinar potentially being employed already at the moment and looking at taking up a part-time option, I would suggest that anything that links with where you want to get to, so if it's a particular job role or if it's a particular department, then put your hand up for anything and everything that comes along your way. So, for example, I was keen to raise my profile and obviously to learn about different types of marketing jobs, both content as much as how they got into leadership roles. And I joined a sort of network of marketers that I knew of, which was sort of linked with the CIM, but actually considered it as more of an industry sector specific. And that meant that I got involved in organising conferences with them, and was also able to speak when I did a piece of research for my master's that I did in strategic marketing. And that was something that was voluntary, but it also meant that I was in front of my peers. It also meant that I was able to learn, but I was also to be able to impart some of my knowledge to others. And then more importantly, it meant variety for the type of work that I had. So I was able to really benefit from something that was in addition to my role. Now I'm talking younger, so of course I didn't have some of the commitments that some of us might have now, but as I say, certainly for me at that very beginning point, it was a hugely advantageous piece of work that I did, but it was also something that I found really rewarding. So I definitely recommend put your hand up and say yes, and then think about it later in relation to, to seeing how you get on.
Thank you, Sally. And that's a really great bit of advice as well. It's sort of putting your hand up, volunteering for extra things. There'll certainly be those opportunities with this course for our students. I know there's opportunities to be a course rep, representing your peers, feeding back what's working, what's perhaps not working so well in the course, what improvements you would like. And I know that the Department of Materials and all of the fashion academics really do take their students' feedback on board to make that experience as positive as possible. We also have opportunities like brand ambassadors, where you can speak to prospective students and get involved and really kind of help them on their application journey too. Just to name just two examples of that. So those opportunities are definitely available as part of this course, as sort of extras that you can get involved with too. And Barbara, can I bring that question to you? What tips or advice would you be giving to someone?
Well, I think people who differentiate yourself and volunteer for things are really good examples. I think maybe from a fashion marketing perspective, a lot of our students are already working in fashion marketing, but there are also some who work somewhere else and would like to get into fashion marketing specifically. And I think it's about marketing so fast moving, but fashion marketing is incredibly fast moving. So fashion itself changes every few weeks now, and it's just about keeping up with what's happening in the industry. So we really encourage our students to really look at what's happening in the industry and look beyond their own company perhaps, and look at different examples and just keeping up to date all of the time. And obviously enrolling on a part-time master's degree is one of those ways that you help to keep your skills up to date, but also attending webinars, attending meetings, reading the fashion press and the marketing press, and just constantly keeping up to date with what's happening out there, I think really helps you differentiate yourself as well.
That's great. Thank you, Barbara. One thing that I have been asked that I'd just like to pick up on again with Sally and with Barbara is you both mentioned about part-time study and studying whilst you were working. Do you have any advice or tips for students who are working full-time and studying part-time on how to manage their time and make the most out of their studies?
I think it's all about being organised, really, and being committed as well. So if you know that you're spending a lot of money to go on a course, then you need to give it your as much effort as you can. So different people have different ways. So I think I used to study 1 day a week, plus my weekends. Other students, I know some of our students allocate so many evenings per week to do the studying, maybe 1 day at the weekend. So it's about allocating time and really being committed and putting your effort in, I think. I don't know about Sally.
Yes, I would agree. I think I've always been a morning person. So I found that when I was studying, I usually used my weekends predominantly because of an evening I was frazzled. I wasn't really in the right frame of mind personally for me. So I found weekends were my study days. And what I would do, obviously dependent on my deadline. So if I had assignments due, then I could be working all weekend. But at the same time, in terms of keeping that regular upkeep of my learning, I used to do the sort of Saturday, Sunday mornings. And that would enable me then to know that I'd still get some time back for myself. And that was a balance between studying and then having, a life and being able to enjoy things still before going back to work. And then occasionally, if there were major projects, I had a research project in my master's that I did, and that required me to work a bit longer. So I did have, thankfully, the support of my employer where I requested some time to be able to allow me to do that. And at the time, I worked quite flexibly. So it enabled me to bank my time up if I had evening work or any other type of work where I would be working outside my normal hours. I was then able to sort of put that into having a day off in lieu, which also helped me. So it's about maybe looking at having that support network around you, as well as obviously organising your time as well. Definitely.
That's great. Thank you both so much for that. And so that is really bringing us to the end of the questions that we've got submitted today and to the end of the webinar as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my contact details up on the screen for anyone who does want to get in touch and ask any questions about anything that we've covered today. And I've also put my colleague Thompson's contact details up as well. So if you are based in China, then my colleague Thompson is based in our Shanghai centre. And so if you have any questions that you might want to ask him, then you can get in touch with him via his email address there as well. So all that's left for me to say really is thank you very much to our panel today for taking the time out of your days to come and talk to us about the Chartered Institute of Marketing and how that supports people to advance their careers and really make the most of a marketing career. It's been really, really interesting to hear from you today. And so thank you so much for that. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in and watched as well. When the webinar ends today, there will be a short anonymous survey as well that will come up, and please let us know how you found the session. And as part of that, there's the option to include anything you might like to hear in our future webinars too. So please don't be shy, please do let us know how you found everything so that we can build that into running events that you want to hear and that you're going to find as useful as possible in the future. So all that's left really to say is thank you very much to everyone for taking part today, and please do get in touch if you've got any questions and you want to follow up about anything in the future.